So what we're gonna do now is we are gonna go through some of the raids bosses from this expansion in a nutshell. So I've already, if you can see on stream, I've already got some here with all the bosses from the expansions raids. We're gonna go rate them from S tier to A to B to C and then to D for dog shit. And that's basically it.
Gammon.
I like that dog shit rank.
Yeah, it's just basically Sabak dog shit. So obviously, like, I missed out on the first season, so that's why I've kind of brought you in, because I feel like you've done them, haven't you? Please say yeah, because I'm gonna look like a fucking knobhead. So so basically, like, I'm probably gonna judge those bosses on how they look. I've got some videos of like people fighting those bosses and some of the other ones as well, obviously from like a Holy Pally view. Obviously I'll come from the healer perspective, you'll obviously be the DPS, and so you can give your take on that as well. So yeah, so let's start off then. So we're going to be judging on so I've got like a little notepad here, like a professional notepad. So we
do I.
So let me just get rid of some things. Just bear with me a second. Get rid of them a sec. So we can look professional on video. Oh, this is also going to be on YouTube as well. So
say hi, YouTube.
Yeah, hi YouTube. Yeah, so we're gonna go over a few things. So there's gonna be a design of the overall raid. That's probably gonna be the last thing that we do. Design of mechanics, design of boss, how boss looks. You know, like, does it look cool? Does it need another head? What about another leg? So on and so forth, and etc. Healing POV, that'll be purely me. Obviously, like a little bit of you, obviously, depending on what you've done. I mean, obviously, DPS POV is going to be you. Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, like, all I've ever seen you do is, like, DPS anyway. So, especially on raids.
First raid.
Yo, Mikey, thank you very much for the raid, dude. Thank you very much, man. How was your second stream? Welcome in, guys. Welcome in, Leanne. How you doing? And then we're going to go over loot as well. What the loot was like in comparison to the previous tier. How it's looking for Fated. We'll go over that as well, because obviously we know Fated's coming in Season 4. How you doing, Leanne? You alright, mate? Tier sets. We're going to go over the abilities and designs. Mega, you're not new. Welcome in, everybody. And then we're going to go on fun level as well, and then whatever notes you've gotten taken down. Did a bit of OG Modern Warfare 2 campaign, yes! Love that. Love it. Did you do no Russian? So, let's, so what have you got down for, like, your points? Like, what have you got written down?
Well, I've got to put everything into headings. I've done a heading for each raid, done a bit of an overview for each raid, and then gone into every boss.
Yeah.
And sort of thought about that. So depending on how you want to start it off.
Yeah.
I know you said a minute.
So I've got some videos that I can just put on the background for a bit of just to see what the fight looks like and everything as well. So I can just put them on in the background until we decide. So yeah, we'll start off. So first one we've got. My dog just looked up my nose. Oh god. So we'll go with Amalgamation Chamber from Aberrus. So if we look at the points, we'll go design and mechanics. So how did you feel about Amalgamation Chamber?
So playing through that boss, I really felt like my most used keybind was W. It was just move in, move out, move in, move out.
It was like the hokey cokey, wasn't it? Basically.
It's not very fun. And I think bosses where like you can't just blast straight away, having to hold for it to go, like the two halves to go into the one big boss, then you can pop your cooldowns. Not very fun in my opinion.
No, I mean as a second boss, it's not amazing, but it's not too bad. Like, it's... I mean, overall mechanics-wise, it's just move in... Like you said, it's just move in, move out, run away from fire. And I feel like a lot of the raid bosses in this expansion follow the same kind of mechanics. So, like, and they have the same looks about them. There's at least... They like to recycle a lot of the mechanics, I've noticed. So, like, I mean, what's the most recent one where you have to run away? It's Farak. So, like, in terms of, like, Farak, like, it's got very similar mechanics to Amalgamation Chamber. I mean, I don't know in comparison to Vault of the Incarnates, so I don't know if there's anything in particular, like, alongside that is something similar.
No, I think Amalgamation for this expansion was probably the worst boss for... Oh, here's a soak, move in for that. Okay, now here's a swirly, run the hell away from that. And I think they overdid it. Like, the size of the swirlies, the amount of soaks you had to do, the amount of dodging you had to do, the amount of placement of different things around the room. It was just unnecessarily too much for rinsing and repeating the same mechanic.
And it does feel like a lot for a second boss as well. I'd say I'd say it should be in like mid, but I guess in a sense at C.
Yeah, it's not the most moving one. You can, well, yeah, just about every spec can still at least do their rotation.
Yeah.
And to be fair, there's no absolutely horrific mechanics, so I guess if you're feeling a B, I could agree with that, but my personal opinion would to throw it in the C.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's the second boss, so it's not gonna be too difficult, but it's an optional second boss because you can once you've done Kazare, you can go off and do Assault. So technically, it's not second, but it's not middle either. It's like optional, which I think is quite good design, really, because then like for Mythic, I think like because you obviously go like a different route for Mythic in comparison, because for Mythic he went to Assault straight after because it was free. So it was mainly
what I've
like
liked about these raids is you have had that option in every single raid.
Yeah.
Like, joint second bosses and there's joint third bosses.
I think it's definitely going to be a thing for like in the future as well. I mean, like I don't know about Incarnate because I'm going to be saying that a lot, but I never did it. But yeah, I think C is fair. I think in terms of like actual boss design, I think it's very it's not very like creative or inventive as such. They've just put like a new skin on top of like a a Void Walker, which is not great, and then them two combined to just make one big one. So I think for design of it, in terms of that, it's fair to put into a C. As like a healing point of view as well, it's a fucking nightmare. But yeah, it's not. I think C is very fair. So yeah,
it's just overall annoying to play.
Yeah, I mean on fun level as well, it's not very good. It's just. Yeah, it could be better, but it's a second boss, so I don't know what else you'd expect, really. Broodkeeper. I think this is Broodkeeper. This one?
Ooh. Yeah, that's Broodkeeper.
We'll get a video up, just to show, because I don't really know. I know it's like the last boss. Second to last boss, even.
Yeah.
So that's Razageth, isn't it?
Video up first, or?
Yeah, can do. It seems like this person, Jacob the Ultimate, I'm on. He's clearing it on Heroic. I think, Brewkeeper's the one with all the eggs, isn't it? I've done it on LFR, I believe. Brood was lit.
Should we talk over it as the fight's going on the video? Or?
P1 D tier, P2 S tier on Mythic. So this is like obviously from like a holy paladin point of view, but we can talk like during the video is playing as well. So overall, I think like the room design is okay. This guy's UI is questionable. It's very questionable. Yeah, I think I feel like, aren't you in this room to do Kurog?
No.
There is. Oh, it's a
you
different one.
Don't go in the same room at all for any bosses.
Yeah.
No, Kurok is a much better room.
Yeah.
But,
I was gonna say it does
okay.
look very similar to it.
This boss, and I don't think people in chat are gonna like what I'm about to say. This boss does not belong in a raid. It sucked. Like, oh, do you want to do plus 15 Vault of the Incarnates? Mate, I don't want to be just fighting trash all the time in one of raid bosses. Like, no, I want to go in there. I want an actual reason to use my single target builds. But no, I'm just playing my Mythic Plus build because, I'm assigned to ads. Like, okay, the staff mechanic with the eggs, kind of cool. I'll give the fight that. But, geez, when there's a fight which has more running than the entire London Marathon, gonna be honest, not interested. I hated this fight. Honest to God, I thought it was awful, and I never want to see a boss fight like this again.
I mean, to be honest with you, like I've done this on LFR, and it reminds me so much of the egg boss from Blackwing Lair. It kind of feels like they went for like a more modern, updated version of this.
That's definitely what they wanted to do.
Yeah, this is a great fight. I'm looking forward to doing it on. I mean, it's Cal's opinion, so this is just from Cal's perspective. Obviously, everybody's got their own. I've got mine. There might be some things that you might not agree with me. But yeah, I've done this on LFR because I heard the trinket was good, and I wanted to get like an idea of like, because I was like fairly new to this in season 2, because like I was too busy playing Wrath of the Lich King, being stingy and very pissed off with Dragonflight. But it's like easily like one of the best things I've done since coming back. But yeah, I'm looking forward to doing all of it on Fated just to see what it's like. Classic nerd. I had a right temper tantrum about it as well. I think in terms of like, yeah, it was so I regret it now. I mean, I'm fully eating like humble pie, as Lego likes to say.
To be fair, I think you came back at the right time.
Yeah, I mean, like playing Holy Paladin has probably done it for me. Like, because I was playing it in Wrath. So I kind of had a basic idea of what it was like. I definitely think that this should bring some abilities back from Wrath. I definitely like. I'll say this until the cows come home. But like, if you're wanting to go fully like melee healer with Holy Paladin, you at least need to bring Seal of Wisdom back. We need to see Seal of the Crusader again. You know, for Ret Paladin, I think that'd be great. I think they need to do away with the Seal of Winter stuff, or Blessing of Seasons, and just change that to. I mean, it is technically like Blessing of Wisdom, Blessing of Might, and all that pretty much now, but I think it just needs to be like reworked, and because there is some balancing issues with that. I mean, like it was bugged for a long time, especially with Blessing of Autumn on Hunters. I think there were some like visual bugs and stuff from what I read as well. So yeah. So where are we putting Broodkeeper? I think in terms of loot as well, I think this one's going to be the one to farm for me as a healer. Because I've heard the trinket is just absolutely insane.
Yeah, it has good loot. I know chat is gonna hate me for what I'm about to say.
I know that a lot.
I know it, but I'm gonna say it anyway because I simply don't care. Dog shit boss.
Dog shit?
It's not a raid boss. It's like, it's more like crap. There's so much running around where only if you're doing instant, like if you're a hardcaster, this is horrible. Yeah. If you haven't hardcasted this boss, then you probably like this boss.
To put it into some perspective though as well, like not everybody plays Demo Warlock. So just to clarify, so everyone's POV of that fight is obviously going to be different from yours. So in terms of that, I'm not going to put it on dog shit because I don't think it will be dog shit. I think on Fated, your raid leader was into you putting you on ads.
I played both ads and boss. Like, I've got it from all perspectives, and of course, yeah, Demoron boss way better, but yeah, I mean, no raid fight should be that heavily with ads, I'd say.
Yeah.
Like-
I'm gonna personally, because it looks like the the Blackwing Lair boss,
Yeah.
and they're trying to bring that back, which is obviously cool. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna put it in like a B. I'm gonna put it in B. Because I've never done it, so I can't really comment too much on it. Like I've done it, but I've never done it on like a high level, so I've never done it like heroic. In terms of like how it looks, that's probably why I put it in B, because like it's not the most visually appealing, so I can't really comment on that much, and I can't really comment on like a healing POV because I've never done it at a high level, so I can't really comment on that. But I don't
Yeah,
think
it didn't feel like there was much to do healing wise.
yeah, and I don't think I'll put it in dog shit, because I can't say it's dog shit because I've never done it, but at the same time, that counterbalances what you say, because you know we both have to agree that it's dog shit for it to be in dog shit.
Yeah, okay,
So-
that's fair enough.
Yeah. So I should have really clarified that from the beginning, to be fair. So,
Looking at chat though, I agree. P2 was actually quite decent. I did forget about P2. It was a lot better. I'd still say absolute dog shit for hardcasters. For casters, like Frostmage, for example, which is a bit, well, you're not you're not actually casting. You're just instant. No, actually, yeah, you are casting. Instant casts in the name. Yeah, it's probably a bit more of a C, because when you do have to stop and stand still, oh, it's horrible. So many swirlies and all that towards the end, and just all the movement in general.
I'll keep it in B then, because B seems quite mid.
Yeah.
So we should
I
do
think
this
that's
like
good.
after Fated as well,
Yeah.
so we can come back on this and we can go from there. And on that
Also,
note,
tank routing was fun.
yeah, we need to next time we'll get someone who tanks to come as well. So then like we've all got like our point of views and stuff, and we can go from there.
Yeah.
So moving on to the next one, we've got Council of Dreams. So in
Can we
terms,
not have back-to-back bosses I hate? Like, ooh.
I'm gonna say unpopular opinion for me. I think the duck mechanic is okay. I think it feels out of place. The duck mechanic feels so weird. Panda says he liked Council from a tank perspective. So
I like aiming the charges, I guess, can be fun. But
it's the ultimate troll boss, though. In terms of like placing the charges and stuff, it's so easy to troll.
yeah.
Like,
What I'm gonna say about this boss, I've got it in my notes. And yeah, Ralphs has pointed out perfectly. So,
yeah,
the first thing I put up is AIDS. Caps. Second thing is delete this boss. Okay? Now that we've got that ground set, let's go into it with a more proper mindset. It's a 3-target fight, yeah? Except no, you're gonna be 2 targeting at best. Some points, you're gonna be 1 targeting. So, you're pretty much forced to go for an AoE council type build, but you can't even properly make use of it. Which sucks. Like, I want to be able to either pick my single target build, or my AoE build, or my cleave build, or something like that. You're pretty much gonna have to go via AoE build for those 2 target scenarios, or if you've got like a lower target cleave build, and going for that. Like, the builds I have to put out and the specs I play, not fun at all.
it
the
just casts
polymorph
havoc on
mechanic-
everybody, and like it's just multiple chaos battles.
Right.
Oh no, that's
Listen here,
that's for
I'm not
Destro, isn't it?
Destro, okay? And Destro isn't even playable this season. So the Destro boss doesn't even have to exist, because Destro's so bad.
I think
the
in
Dark
terms-
Polymorph, get rid of it. It
think-
ruins ramps. Fuck it. And all the movement in that boss. No.
I think from
Get
a
rid of it.
healing perspective, I think it's a bit chaotic because you can't exactly stand in the middle. You can't exactly stand on the side because you'd get hit by the charges. You can't exactly stand next to bosses as either. So it's kind of hard to, as a healer, like it's kind of hard to stay in one place. And I mean, obviously with the state of Holy Paladin, I mean, as a caster, you're gonna probably have a bit of a better time because you can like move around, especially for like Disc Priest. I think you're gonna have that maneuverability. It must be a nightmare with the poison. Yeah, it is 100%. Because I've changed my keybind for my dispel now, so like it's a lot closer than what it was before. And then and now I'm just like, every time I see someone green or like blue, I'm straight on it. Like it's just hardwired into me. I have to do it. The only time I don't ever do it, I don't even touch my dispel, is on Tindral. I do not touch it. So in terms of like an undispellable poison effect, I think it definitely should go in C, because I think the design of the boss doesn't look good, and from like a healing perspective, I think it's kind of lame. It's hard to do it, but I guess at the same time it's a good challenge maybe. But yeah, I think a low C, I think for me is probably the best shout. Do you agree?
I mean, I'm personally a dog shit caller.
Yeah. Shall we go dog shit?
But I would happily have this as our first dog shit, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Like, I can have Deanna in there, but Council has to be in dog shit.
Yeah. That, and it's a council boss as well. And everyone...
Nah. Stop doing council bosses. The last good one was in Tor.
Okay, maybe we should change the name of dog shit to could be better. Which, to be fair, could be better. Yeah, I think could be better is fair. I don't think having a dog shit is, because no boss truly, I don't believe is dog shit. Alright, so we'll go for could be better. I think that makes it fair. Okay, so Daffia ascended. I never did this. So we'll watch a video. I'll try and find the point of where it is. Oh no, that's is Daffia the third boss?
That's enough. Daffia is usually 5th, I believe, or
yeah.
6th.
Oh, I found it. So talk me what you do on Daffia.
In a nutshell, you've got tornadoes going around the room. You have to dodge or you get knocked back. You've got a pull-in mechanic where you have to run to the outer edges of a room, where you go into a tornado and get yeeted out. You've got ads which you have to burst down at certain times to knock back the raid group. Is it half a raid group or is it just certain groups? Either way, they'll be going onto one of the 3 platforms on the outer edge of the room, getting knocked back to go and kill a pack of ads, which will then knock them back onto the main platform. So yeah, about half of this fight is just dealing with either being sucked in or knocked back. So much movement involved. Well, absolutely horrible to play, I'd say. Half goes to the other platform. Yeah, cheers, Shiv. So yeah, one thing I really don't like about this boss as well is it's not. So you've got a single target fight, then you've got a 3 target fight that happens. Well, actually, at that point, you're still technically single targeting one of the ads. You don't want to kill them both at the same time. And then you've got an AoE section of the fight. So not only do you like need to make sure your build's good for single target, but you also need to have an AoE build. And just like, why can't we play with one build? If there were more consistent ads and there was more of a need for AoE, I think it would be much better. And if there weren't so many knockbacks, which just, you know, a massive middle finger to anyone who has to play with a ramp, then would have been fine. But nah, just too much movement, too many knockbacks, and the temporary AoE of a fight is not enjoyable.
It sounds to me that it's like a resto druid paradise in terms of the
Yes.
fight.
If you can run around an instant cast, which felt really good because I did play Resto as one of my ults for the whole raid. Resto felt quite decent. Most of the melee specs felt great. But anything that had any ramp, so like disc or demo, didn't want to play it. Felt absolutely horrible. And yeah, hard casting as well. Just there were low opportunities where you could hard cast. So I I'd rate this boss really low. Really. I wouldn't say it's actually dog shit, as they tried something interesting. But I wouldn't exactly like even put it as a mid boss.
Yeah.
I would put it at C.
Yeah.
Definitely not dog shit.
I think
Because at least they gave it a good go.
I think judging by what you've said, I think there's obviously like it sounds like there's a lot going on. I think in terms of like design, I think it's not too bad. I mean, I'm just watching the video now, and there's like arrows going from the side, so you can just go in the middle of them to avoid. Shifty says Mythic was fun. Yeah, I mean, like we're watching Heroic at the minute, so like there's obviously going to be like added mechanics to Mythic. So yeah, I can see there's like an ad that's come up now, so obviously that needs like I don't know if aerial slash is interruptible.
No, so you take him to the side, you DPS him down. When he dies, he knocks you back. So either you need to get knocked over to one of the side platforms, diverted essence, by the way, that's your interrupt ability.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, because
or
I've
you
just
keep
seen some like
knocked
go
back,
over
as
to the
this
other
guy
side.
does it. Yeah.
Raf says, I hate any mechanic where melee can grief, and Marks was a prime version of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I was also going to touch upon. Marks was just... I think it was made just to be able to piss people off. I'm going to be brutally honest. Was it challenging mechanic? No. Easy as. Was it there for that one
Mark,
dippy melee
conductive
player
Mark.
who
Yeah.
didn't care about the rest of his group? Would just play as if he's the only one in the group to go and hit everyone with it? Yes. Yes, it was. There was always that one guy who would stand on you. Usually a BM hunter or a Fury warrior. They would not care about anyone in their team. That if a Fury warrior was playing with Intervene in that tier, I could guarantee they would intervene someone with that mark. Just because, well, not because they're intentionally trying to get someone, but because they don't think. Oh yeah, no, demon.
Usually a demon hunter.
Yes. Oh my god, they were horrible for it.
So
Yeah,
hot
you've got a really
take.
good
What
point.
do you think to Demon Hunters in season 3?
I hate inertia. Bring back momentum.
What do you think about players playing with him though? Like I want to hear your take on it because mine's might be a bit different.
What do you mean by your question?
Like
Sorry.
so basically like obviously there's a lot of people making Demon Hunters at the moment, and I don't feel like any of them know what they're doing, to be quite honest. I've done a lot of pugs in the past couple of weeks, and it's like, what are you doing? It feels like, I now feel like why people took Holy Paladin last season. It definitely feels like a very flavor of the month class. Like, no disrespect to anyone who plays Demon Hunter and enjoys it, but it just seems like a lot of people are picking it because it's probably one of the best melee DPS at the moment, and it doesn't feel great to do because everyone's like, oh yeah, I must follow this meta kind of thing, and it's like, yeah.
As Shifty said, the good are good and the bad are bad. One thing you have
Really
to
bad.
remember is, like, whenever you have Havoc, Retribution, or Beast Mastery as the meta, like, they're already 3 of the most popular specs and always have high number counts. There's some specs which I'm very able to comment on this one. Demonology, when that's meta, you don't see as many flavor of the month rerollers.
It just
forget
seems,
them. You
it
always
just
get
feels like everyone's re-rolling Demon Hunter,
Oh yeah.
and it's like they're not interested in anything apart from the fact that it's like flavor of the month. But that's just genuinely how it feels to me. Like obviously, like people feel different about it, but it just seems to me that people don't really have a fucking clue. Orlocks went demo because it was the only spec.
Not 100% true. A lot of people who did main Warlock did go to demo, yes, but people outside of Warlock probably
Miss
didn't go to
Affliction.
Warlock, and a lot of Warlocks rerolled to other specs. But this is a discussion about raids. I can talk about Warlocks all I want.
Yeah.
And
If you really want to like talk about like warlocks and stuff, like just go follow Cal's channel. I'll give him a shout out in the minute, and he'll talk until the cows come home. But yeah. So yeah, in terms of this fight, what would you rate it?
To the left of him.
Daffio was I've
Okay.
I forgot that. Just forgot it from that much of a tangent.
Shade.
I would
move
say it's
to
a
your
solid
right.
C.
C. We'll go C.
Yeah.
Okay. Amazing.
Go.
Affliction was good in MOP, and that's probably the last time I heard about it.
3.
So yeah, we'll go for
Don't get me started. Let's just move on to Echo. Let's go
Okay.
to Echo.
Echo. What do you think to Echo?
Okay. I love this fight.
Yeah,
Honestly,
solid fight.
Really cool. No, I'm gonna talk first about design wise, if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it, mate.
So, design of Echo was really cool.
Yeah.
It comes back to Neltharion. Okay. Admittedly, the look of his armor does look yikes. But it's Neltharion, you know? He's a badass. He looks sick. You look at the way all the walls are in the room, all the void portals and whatnot. Like, just the look of the mechanics looked really, really nice.
And I liked the void parts as well. I thought they were cool. But like in
Yeah.
terms of immersion, I think it kind of took me out a little bit because I was like, but it makes so like sense story wise.
If you think about it, the way his fight went was like kind of a summary of a raid. He started off as Neltharion, the fire guy, the earth warder, you know, and then at the end, he turns to the void. It's like a summary of
Yeah.
Deathwing's life as well.
Yeah.
He was once the earth warder, then he became this void crazed dragon, wanted to destroy the world. And if you look very carefully, when Echo of Neltharion's dead, his corpse isn't Neltharion. It's a faceless minion.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, I never noticed
So-
that.
The entire time throughout that raid, we were being tricked by a servant of the old gods,
Oh shit.
posing as Neltharion,
Oh, I never
which
noticed
I
that.
found very cool.
Yeah. I never noticed that. That's mad. I think the design was solid. It made you use every part of that room, which I quite liked. I think some of the dialogue in it is cool. I think the mechanics are amazing. Yeah, I never noticed that at all. I never noticed it was yeah, that was mad. Yeah. Oh, next time, like, if in Fated, I reckon I'm gonna have a look. Like, I'll probably never forget that. You'll have to remind me in case I do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Echo is a really good, solid second to last fight. It sets up Starkeref really good. I had a lot of fun healing it. I thought it was quite good. I mean, in terms of like, the overall design and everything, I think it definitely S tier. I think it's really good. I think it's a very good second to last boss fight. I think the armor is a bit meh. It's questionable, but it's Nefarian. I reckon S tier. What do you reckon?
I'm gonna debate this. I would love to put it at S tier, but there are two massive thorns in the side of this fight.
Yeah.
Which makes me say A tier. One being, as you probably figured out by now, having all those ads at the end demanding AoE talents didn't make me happy. Like, I love being able to single target Neltharion, was great, but having to take Implosion just for like the last 30 seconds of a fight, and it being legitimately mandatory and not even for padding purposes. Not happy about that at all. And then in Mythic difficulty with the Molten Heart mechanic, demanding a weak aura. Like, it simply wasn't possible without a weak aura.
And I know how much you love
game
those.
design. Having to have something external to just do a mechanic. Like, you can't just call it out. You can't have any way of doing this mechanic without this weak aura. Yeah, that's just bad design. Blizzard should have designed that mechanic much better. They shouldn't have made it dependent on a weak aura. And if they are, well, for them to have done the mechanic the way they did it, they should have implemented the UI that the weak aura brought.
Yeah, I mean,
anyway.
anything with like a private aura, I reckon it immediately knocks it down a peg.
Yeah. I would love to call this an S tier boss.
Yeah.
But
Well,
just
it's
the
a
private
high A.
aura alone,
Definitely a
it's
high A.
High A, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, if Mythic didn't exist, it would be S tier.
Yeah.
Despite the AoE requirement at the end, it would have been S tier.
We'll go for that. Okay, so we'll go for high A. So Eranog, I can't remember this fight very well.
It was the very first one of Avarice.
Oh yeah.
No, not Avarice, sorry. Vault of the Incarnates.
S. Someone's put.
Yeah. I'd agree. Eranog
Awesome fight.
was a great fight. And do you know who voiced Eranog?
Who?
Same guy who voiced Garrosh Hellscream.
Oh, that's S tier immediately.
Already. Wait. If you think about the fight, so what are your mechanics? You've got the pools that you've got to drop. You've got all the ads coming in. Then you've got the intermission phase where the wall of ads goes in, and then there's also a wall of ads going out on Mythic difficulty.
Oh, so is it kind of like Vault of the Wardens mechanic at the end? Like, you know, where you've got to like go for the gap?
Kind of, but you have to DPS and add down to get the gap.
Oh, so it's kind of like Malevolence from Shadow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
Shadow
no
Burial.
But imagine in Mythic, you've got it coming from both directions.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So
Let's have a look for the
very. You basically break down a gap in one side. You go through, preferably to the outer edge of the room. Then you do the inner wall. Then you can go straight to Eranog, start hitting him again. Honestly, the frequency of ads meant that taking your AoE talent picks felt really good. The DPS checks you had for getting the walls down was very fair. It wasn't AIDS at all. It was like, so long as you pre-planned properly and you played well, then you could quite easily get through it. Well, quite comfortably. You'd have maybe about 2 seconds to walk through that wall. If you decided to get another hard cut off, you would probably die. But yeah, I gotta say, Eranog, great boss, I think.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like how it looks and everything, like especially on Mythic as well, that there's a lot going on. It seems like the opposite of like, you know, fights where you have to drop it on the floor in like a certain way. It just seems like it's just emanating from the middle and you're just going around the sides. So I think that's pretty unique. This fight's great for every role. I mean, I'll have to wait until Fated to do it. Oh, I can see the ads thing now. Oh my god, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah. I think this looks really good. I'm excited to do it on Fated. So
You can
purely because
healing it is also very.
Yeah, I think in terms of rating it, I might go A, but that's purely because I've never done it. Obviously we'll come back to this and see if anything's different. Okay, Forgotten Experiments. Yeah. Yeah, I'll put it in A, just purely because I've never done it at that high of a thing. So we'll go for that. We'll go for
We'll
yeah. We'll go for Forgotten Experiments.
Okay.
Yo, Hod, welcome in, mate. How you doing?
I'm gonna say with experiments, it like there are some minor things that could have been changed to make this boss much better. I don't think it was an absolutely horrible boss, so to say. I mean, it unfortunately is another boss where you have to hold cooldowns, hold last, which is not fun at all.
It just seems very focused on P2. I think instead of like maybe having a council, maybe you could have had the second boss is like the main boss, with the other two is just ads that you have to take every phase.
Yeah.
And obviously, like from that, they're a bit more. I'm literally 10 IOB in front of you, by the way, Hod as well. That's mad. Yeah, I think maybe that's the way they should have done it. But then again, like they have to have a council fight in every raid.
Yeah.
I think possibly it's my favorite council fight. Well, I've only done 2, so it's a bit unfair to judge that, really.
This was the best council fight of Dragonflight.
Yeah.
I'd say. Because it didn't really feel like a council fight for most of it, because it was just one boss after the other. I would say that even though in Mythic you had 2 bosses out at the same time, generally that just meant that you had the new mechanics coming in. You didn't really hit the other boss.
Yeah.
You focus on killing the first boss. The only area where you really did was to the orbs that appeared from the Dispel, which is something, personally, I think should have been reworked into something else.
Yeah.
And then on the last boss, the flying mechanic.
I really like that, actually. I thought it was quite good.
I'm gonna be devil's advocate for Melee here and say, fuck that. Like, if they had a separate ad doing that mechanic while you could still hit the boss, great. But just having the boss fly around, it wasn't fun. All you had to do was press W to dodge. At least if you were dodging it and fighting the boss and knocking the orbs back so that you wouldn't get his temporal shield, then that would have been a lot more fun, a lot more engaging, and I think would have made for a really good fight. But I think in the state that it was, I'd give it a B.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I'd agree on a solid B. I quite liked it on heroic. I thought it was really good. I never got that far on Mythic, so I never got to experience that. But I think in terms of like how the fight was, I quite enjoyed it. I quite liked the football mechanic on the 3rd phase. I quite enjoyed that. Yeah, it made me feel like I was playing for England. So that was pretty cool. I'm waiting for Gareth Southgate to send me my contract in the post. Because obviously from like a Holy Paladin perspective, I could literally just bubble and just kick it halfway across the pitch. But yeah, I think it's fair to say that out of all the council fights so far that we've been talking about, I think that's probably the best one. But yeah, and also OCE dropped off it, which is like amazing. That's going to be ridiculous to see in Fated. We're probably going to be talking about Fated quite a lot because obviously everything's scaled up to how it's going to be. We're going to see some absolutely insane builds from that. Especially with Rashok with it. Rashok is just going to be next level with that. I'm excited to see what it's going to be like with Broodkeepers as well, obviously from like a healing perspective. But OCE and Pip's friendship is just going to be stupid. But obviously, yeah. We'll go with B for that one. Nalru, what do you think to Nalru? Okay. We've both done this on Mythic, so we should be able to talk about this one properly.
So just to first talk about design, literally ripped out Dark Heart Thicket.
Yeah, 100%. It's literally a copy and paste.
So 0 points for design.
I feel like it was already in Dark Heart Thicket. Like, it is literally
Yeah.
a copy and paste. And I think, I can't remember is it Smash Root or something, the name of the...
No. So in Dark Heart Thicket, his name's Oakheart, I believe.
Yeah.
And then you also, even his name isn't original, because as we know from playing Everbloom, there is a big tree ad called Naru, who you skip. So not only is the model reused, but so is the name.
But the mechanics are a bit different.
Mechanics does redeem the boss quite a bit, I'd say.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
quite a fun starting fight. There's not too much movement. Most of your movement is really like, I guess, like during the intermission when you shouldn't hit him anyway, and you just want to focus on burning the roads, which I think is quite a cool mechanic.
I really
around,
enjoyed that.
burning the roads.
I really enjoyed that mechanic. I thought it was cool. I thought it was unique. I thought it was different. And I really enjoyed that, actually. I thought it was like, oh yeah, you get hurt by this debuff, but you compensate for it later on in the fight.
Yep.
Like,
and what is absolutely amazing about it is, so you have, this is something I think Nafria suffered from a lot, but there's a lot of mechanics that just target a few players and make them have to go off and do awkward shit.
yeah, like what's the name? Enerva, is it?
Yeah.
That one? Yeah.
Now, imagine Enerva, but everyone did that mechanic and you couldn't hit the boss. There wouldn't really be complaints about that mechanic.
No.
That's how I see this route mechanic. Like, no one can hit the boss. Everyone has to focus on burning down these routes. Great. Amazing. That's how mechanics like that should be done. And I'm very happy to see that it looks like Blizzard have learned from past mistakes making Naru with this mechanic. Yeah. I kind of agree with Panda. There's always one ad that will just decide, oh, I'm gonna go fiddle with a DPS now. I know because you charging right at me. Yeah, I think it's a really solid fight.
Yeah.
It's consistent AoE as well, whilst still maintaining focus on your single target. So having a decent cleave build is very enjoyable, and yeah, being single target is I think just a massive props in general, because a lot of raid fights I feel like do miss that mark of not being single target. And if you look at the entire rest of the game, you've got like Mythic Plus where you're AoE, you've got Battlegrounds where you're AoE, you've got Arena where you're somewhat of a hybrid, you've got open world content where you're most likely AoE. So it's rare to get many single target encounters.
Yeah.
And the
ones that are specifically solid as well. Like it feels really rewarding for taking a single target build in this fight. I mean, obviously, like with the ads and everything, you can just absolutely batter him down if you single target. It doesn't really matter. It just takes a bit longer. But I think out of the most rewarding, I think this is definitely the one. I think
you need minimal cleave to get through those ads, because everyone will have minimal cleave.
I
so long
really
as you have
enjoyed
that
it.
single target first, amazing.
I think I really enjoyed it. I think like the build up to it is really good as well. I quite like the fact that you've got all the whatever the names, the jarring or whatever, like fighting all the trees. I just think overall it's really cool. I really like the branch mechanic. I think it's really good. And again, I mean, like it's very rewarding. I mean, obviously you take the debuff and then go to the branches, but then that's the sort of punishing part of it. But then like the intermission, the burst phase is just absolutely solid. I'm gonna go for A on this one. I'm gonna go for a solid A. I
would argue at the top of the A tier.
Yeah, I think in terms of like first boss fights in raids, I think it's probably the best one so far. Yeah, I'll go for high A. I think it's really good. I'm very rewarding. On Mythic, it's great. It's very fun. Which is funny because the next one we're going to talk about, I'm probably going to disagree with that. But yeah, I think high A. I'm gonna go with high A on that one. It's just a really good fight, very rewarding. Can be punishing, but the reward is outdoes that. So yeah, we'll go for that one. We've got Igiria the Cruel next.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll start this one off. So I think for a second boss fight, it's way too long. I think it's too long of a fight. I like the idea that you can choose how the fight goes. I think that's good. But it makes sure you get all of those. But I definitely think it goes on for a lot longer than what it should. I
get bored in that fight.
Yeah. It feels very, because like to go from like Nalroot being so good to the second boss being like how it is, I feel like it should be the other way around. But at the same time, I'm quite glad because it's like, because I remember the first time I did Nalroot, I was buzzing because I was like, oh, this is great. Like, this is so good. Hopefully the second boss fights is good. And then when we did it, it just felt like it went on forever. And it was just like, oh my God, is it done yet? And then I looked and it was like 40%. I was like, you kidding me? I was like, you fucking kidding me? Like, I do agree though, Panda, mechanically it is good, but it just feels like it makes sure you get all those mechanics. And there's no, maybe I'm just really impatient, and I'm pretty sure Kyle is too. But like, I think in terms of like, from like a healing perspective, there's quite a fair bit to do. There's no dispels. There's no like getting rid of poisons. There's no nothing really. It's just to make sure. It's not even a DPS check either. It's not a healing check. It's nothing. It just feels like hit this boss, hit the sword, whatever, hit the spears, and then that's it. And it doesn't feel like there's a lot to go on. It kind of like puts you down a little bit from being quite high up from killing Nalroot. So for me, I definitely think it's a C. I think the mechanics good, but I just think the overall fight is way too long than what it actually is. It's just not enjoyable. I don't think either.
I personally would I think I'd put it at like the bottom of B. Because I don't think there's anything that's inherently bad about the fight.
Yeah.
Like, it's mainly single target, which is great. And the spears, the spear ads you've got, you pretty much just single target them anyway with, maybe you have a bit of, like, cleave, but because they're so weak, like, why even bother taking cleave for it? They will go down.
Yeah. A fucking monkey could do it. Like, yeah, I think, yeah. I definitely...
Shorter fight would have been better.
Yeah, I mean, like, at least, like, 2 minutes less.
Yeah.
It just feels like it could be shorter.
Yeah.
But, like, it feels like no matter how, like, DPS you're doing, I just feel like it's not enough to get it down quick. And I'm too used to, like, fights where you just absolutely melt in stuff. And even then, when you BL, it's, what, 80%?
Yeah.
At least. So it's just like, oh god, fuck me. You've got another at least 5 minutes of this.
It's
like,
long for the sake of being long, and you do get bored.
Yeah. Bottom of
like,
B.
It's not a bad fight, but it's a boring fight.
Yeah. I mean, I've purely picked B as well because you can choose how the fight goes, and that is quite new. But the rest of it is just, I think it's boring. I just think it's very boring. I think to go from like such a good first boss to then go to the second boss, I'm just not a fan. I'm just, it's just such a high, and then it just brings you down to earth again. So yeah, B is solid for me. Kazara, what do you think to Kazara? We've done this on Mythic as well.
Yeah, I would put Kazara at the top of the B tier because I'd say this is a very middle of the lane fight. Like, there's nothing about it that's exceptional. It doesn't have the problems of Agira being too long. Like, I think it's length quite well. The mechanics of it, it does show a decent bit of player skill, but to be honest, you don't have to do much to play around it. It is just a quite simple walk thing over thing. Okay, go back to it because you're all stood in relatively good positions.
On Mythic, it's fucking horrible. On
Oh,
Mythic, it's
on Mythic for
horrendous.
us. So I saw how you played it in your video, and I was thinking like, what the hell is that strategy? No wonder you're screaming while playing it.
Yeah,
But
it's...
when we did it on Mythic, smooth as. It's simple, like, we're all lined up, we drop the pools in one spot, giving enough space to walk through the pools, like in little gaps, and then the people who drop pools go back in position. Then when the new tornado or beams come out, then everyone moves a couple steps forward. The people with the beams then kite it into the pools closest to them. And simple. There's almost nothing on the ground. It's very straightforward. And I think this is a fight that very much depends on the strategy you pick.
Yeah. I mean, like, there's many ways to go around it. When we were doing this on Mythic, I was looking at some guides, and I was like, it feels like I mean, obviously you could tell by the video, I felt like we were doing it wrong.
Yeah, I feel like you were.
Yeah, because you're supposed to go at the entrance, but we went in the corner. So, like, in a kind of, like, it was going to be, like, 3, then 4, then 5, and kind of along that line. So I think that's kind of what we went for. But we ended up doing it purely based on DPS as well, which was, like, skin of his teeth. As you obviously saw from the video. But in terms of the first boss, I thought it was quite good. I think in terms of design, where it's like firing his armor off at you, I think that's pretty cool. And it also gives you a skin for your flying mount, which is great.
Well, that drops off Sarkareth, but...
Oh, does it? I always thought it was Kazara. Oh, fair enough.
Nah, Sarkareth.
Yeah, so it's definitely could be better. Not joking. Yeah, high B, though, seems quite fair, to be honest.
Yeah.
I do think it's a very solid first boss. I don't think it's as good as Gnarlroot, but I still think it's good. There is some difficulty, obviously, to it in Mythic, which is great. And it feels very rewarding as well, because it's like, oh, we can finally get through now. And then obviously, Assault is free, so you've automatically got 2 out of 9 there. So yeah, is it Kurog Blood Totem? Is it?
Kurog, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think I've ever done this one. Try and find a video of it.
Yeah. So while you're getting the fight up, I'll talk about how I feel about it. I'm not overly fond of Kurog. Having, like, you go from single target to 2 targets to single target to 2 target. It's a bit awkward. There's just, it's overdone with the movement in the fight, I feel like, as well. There's a lot of just like with Amalgamation, oh, go in, oh, go out, go in, go out. Not fun. Yeah, the majority of the mechanics is just, and it's not fun to play, it's annoying to play. I think as a tank, it was decently enjoyable. As a healer, there was a few stress moments you had, but it was mostly quite fine. And as a DPS, I'd personally rather never play it again, as both melee and a hardcaster just, yeah, this is a hard passer for me.
I think in terms of design, I think what would have been good was if they did something along the lines of like Igira, where you could choose like what I mean, it does look like it.
Yeah.
By the looks of things,
what section you go through.
Yeah. So I think in terms of that boss design, I think it is quite cool, because you could go, oh well, we'll do the hardest first maybe, and then save the easiest for last kind of thing. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's all I can really comment on, to be fair, because I don't think I've ever done it. Yeah, it looks pretty good.
Mechanic style. I've got a massive bone to pick with it. It's just same reason why I think Nafria is an awful raid.
Oh, don't say that.
Hey, you one person. You have a mechanic only on you. That means only you can't do DPS. Start running swirlies out of a raid have fun just walking around, while everyone else is allowed to play their class and the boss. I hate that. I think that's horrible design. As I said, with null route, a mechanic like that, I feel like everyone should be doing when the boss isn't even available, would be much better. And yeah, like, just most of Kuro's mechanics require just annoying movement to do. As you can see with the stuff just now, the ring's expanding. Move out, then move in. You saw with the Blizzard stuff earlier. Move out away from orbs, then move into a safe circle. I guess it does. I didn't do it on Mythic, but it does seem on Mythic there's even more ads, which means you've got all 3 damage scenarios that are needed of both a single target, a 2-target, and a multi-target fight, which is very annoying for actually trying to select the right build. So, yeah.
I think from like a healing perspective as well, a lot of healers are obviously casters. I think a lot of, I think monks and holy paladins are probably going to shine on this one purely because of like the spot healing. I think obviously with like there's ad management and stuff for DPS. Yeah, it just seems like, thank you, Luna. No worries, mate. Yeah, it just seems like a bit of a mess, really. It kind of gives me like Stone Legion vibes. Just looking at it. Yeah, it just seems like, oh yeah, there's about 1 million mechanics. Here you go, boom. Like it just feels like that. Yeah.
Like it'd be okay if the mechanics were enjoyable, but they quite simply aren't enjoyable at all.
So like Fire Zone, so each zone has got like different things for you to avoid. So I can see with like pugs and stuff, it'd just be absolutely stupid because like not everyone's gonna do that. I think LFR would be a mess as well. But yeah, I think everything in between would be fine. Like if you're doing it with a guild, especially, I think it's just like it just looks like a lot of organization, which is obviously not a bad thing. But like, it just seems like there's a lot going on, a lot of mechanics, and what is it, like the 7th boss? Is it?
I think you him 5th.
5th?
Actually no, 4th. Like, so you go normally be Aeronog, Teros, Xenarth. I guess if you're doing Mythic, you do Council before Teros, thus making Kuro guy 6th, depending if you wanted to do Daffy beforehand. Because as we mentioned at the start of this, like there's so much flexibility in what sort of pathway you can take to clear on these roads.
Yeah.
But
C maybe.
I think I
see.
would put him at the top of the C tier.
Yeah.
Because it's very well thought out with a lot of complexity, but the mechanics simply aren't enjoyable.
Yeah.
If the mechanics were enjoyable, then it would be an S tier contender with just how much complexity there is in there. And the fact that it does look quite cool, the concept for it is amazing. It's just the execution was not there at all.
I think high C is very like reasonable for that. Yeah, I mean we'll have to see until Fated, but we'll come back to it like I said. Laridar, what did you think to Laridar? I can't imagine you think much.
Ooh. I am a massive fan of Laridar, to be honest.
I really like it. I think as a healer, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I think it's absolute A tier. I just think it's a good DPS fight. It's a massive healer fight. It's healer intensive, so this will probably be like my bread and butter. Holy Paladin, it's fantastic. It's the Holy Paladin fight of the entire season. It gives us a chance to shine. We can do melee and, well, we can take care of ads, heal them up, no problem. I think it's a very good monk fight as well. I think monks are gonna love like this fight if they've ever done it on heroic. I just think the overall design is good. The one thing I don't really like is like the end bit where you've got to like stun the trees or stop the trees. I feel like the fight would have been a bit better without that. I feel like they were very unnecessary because it was like, I mean, it is at that point it changes to a DPS check from a healing check. It ticks every box, I think. So I think this is absolute A. I think it's cool. I think when he changes into like a stone form, I think that's pretty cool. Yeah, and it's just a lot of good storytelling as well. And Seedling's insane. So I just got Seedling yesterday. I managed to get the Fire Hearthstone as well. I managed to get like 3 things off that boss yesterday as well. I was like, yeah, come on. I would go with I would go past Echo, to be honest. On A tier. I think that'll be for me. Yeah, I mean, go on, sorry.
So, okay, the ads in like phase 1 are quite fine because they're briefly there, and to be honest, you don't need to add any cleave to just about every build in the game.
No.
I so passively. Dealing with the routes, it's so easy to do. Just a quick swap, nuke it down, swap back. It's fine. You're single targeting the whole way through, which instantly, like, it being so heavy on single target makes it a great raid boss.
I think it's very. I think my only like gripe with it as well is like there's a very awkward like burn phase. I think it's very awkward, but again that plays into like the healing check, so it's not as bad as what I'm making out, but it is really good, really solid fight. I feel like this is in a really good placement in the raid. Again, it is either 6th boss or it could be 3rd. But yeah, I think it's very solid. I think A is good for that. Magmarax.
Before we move on from Magmarax, what I think would have made those ads better is if they did them like the Aeronog ads. So you got to clear a pathway through a wall and get around it. I know, it's been done before, but it would have at least been a bit cooler than what it currently is.
I think it's all about space management as well. I think that's quite a solid thing into it.
With the vibe and whatnot.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you've got the big plant in the middle that can get rid of it, but not everybody does it, which is funny. So, but yeah, I think second highest A is really good. In fact, I'm gonna say I think it's better than Null Root.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on
100%. I think it's better than Null Root. I think for a mid tier boss, I think it's great. Because everyone gets to shine, everyone gets to do everything they need to. Healers, there's not many healer orientated fights I've noticed in these past 2 seasons. So it's nice to be able to flex a little bit, basically. But yeah, high end of A, I think is a good shout. I think in terms of like fun level, it's very good as well. So yeah, Magmarax. What do you think to Magmarax?
So, I think this is like the archetypal baseline unskinned raid boss. It's Patchwork. The only like slight difference from Patchwork, because let's be honest, the soaks just passively happen if you do a good strategy, is the knockback. And for classes like warlocks, mages, warriors, Paladin, demon hunters, like the list goes on, that knockback doesn't exist. You press like 1 or 2 buttons and like it's gone. There's no knockback. You're back in position straight away.
Yeah.
Nothing to worry about. So I think just by default, it belongs at the bottom of the B tier, because anything above it would sort of show like some ingenuity and mechanics, and anything below it would show mechanics that actively cause annoyance, I'd say.
And I think how you deal with certain mechanics as well makes the fight a whole lot easier. I definitely feel like it's too high in the tier to be where it is. I think it should at least be 4th.
Yeah,
I think
boss.
that and Rashok should swap. Because that would be a lot better.
Yeah.
So Rashok should be a lot higher than what it actually is in terms of how you do it, and it wouldn't really make that much of a difference either. Yeah. I cannot wait to talk about Rashoks. So it's literally the best. So bottom of B, would you say from Maggie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bottom of B, and nothing goes below it on the B tier.
Yeah.
It's the absolute most mid boss possible.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, it should be at least fourth. Like if that and Rashok had swapped, then nothing would be lost really. If anything, it'd make Rashok even better than what it actually is. So we'll go Nimue. What do you think to Nimue? We've both done this on heroic, haven't we? So
good old Nimue. No one has a pronunciation for it.
Yeah,
which is annoying.
Nimue. I got really excited when they first announced Nimue because we've never seen a model quite like it. I think it's really good. I think the model is actually better than the fight.
Yeah.
And I'm purely saying that because lasers. I get hit by him every fucking time. So yeah, very professional, I know. But yeah,
I would say that I don't care about lasers because I'm a warlock.
Yeah.
But I don't even use my demonic circle to dodge them now. I'm that comfortable with them. My real gripe though is with the lines on the floor. Like, you can only really cross them if you've got the grassy areas growing.
Yeah.
Or if you're a tank that just doesn't care. And just having an ad touch one of these lines, and in one scenario, it completely encircles the ad, aside from a tiny pathway it can walk through. Very, very unnecessarily annoying.
Again, we talked about troll bosses earlier. I think this one is definitely up there.
This is where the tanks troll.
Yeah. Or like anybody, like hunters, I've noticed as well. Like hunters like to troll on this boss. Yeah, I think the overall design is great. I would definitely. I mean, like the immersion of this fight is pretty much non-existent. I definitely think that it could be a lot better than what it actually is. Purely because it's just fucking stood there. And it doesnto really do anything. I think it's very
lines, dodge shit, swap to ads. There's nothing bad with it.
But there's
the mechanics are
amazing.
Implemented well, but I think I'd put it like
low
probably
C.
above Broodkeeper.
Really?
No, because like my reason being, like, it's not a bad fight in any way.
No.
Like, yeah, there could be more, true, but there's nothing in the fight that actively makes it feel bad to play. Well, aside from maybe the restrictions of lines, but it's single target, which is great, how a raid boss should be. You've got a decent bit of soaking and teamwork to be done with that soaking. You've got a good bit of teamwork with, say, tanks giving you a path to be able to get through the lines. You've got the ads, which do provide a little bit of a challenge, making the most out of the space you've got with the frontals and the swirlies going around.
What does me massively is it's a big area where you fight it, but it feels so small.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. And then, like, you know, when she does, like, the big lines, everyone has to get cramped up in this small space.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, barrier. We'll just barrier everyone, AMS everybody, AMZ, sorry. And yeah, it just feels like there's a lot of wasted potential with the rest of the area where you are. Like, you know, I don't know. I feel like it could be better than what it actually is, but it is a cool fight, don't get me wrong, but it's just stay on the grass basically. That's basically it. And then soak. It just feels like that it could be more. It could be better. It's not bad. Yeah,
Right.
I would go like C for this. I don't
I'd
know.
put it one spot behind Magmarax at least.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely a low B because it's not the worst, but it's definitely not the best. Yeah.
Like
it's
the
not
only
that.
reason I wouldn't put it in C is because there's no mechanics that just make the fight feel really bad. Like, there's mechanics done well, but then there's also mechanics that make it feel a bit restrictive. So it kind of cancels each other out. But all in all, I wouldn't say it's a bad fight.
No. And I think the loot of it is quite cool as well. I mean, obviously you get the staff and everything. Like it's like a Resto Druid's wet dream. So
yeah. Although Spindle is so annoying to use. I'm
Yeah.
now locked in position for like 4 seconds, or is it 3 seconds? I don't know.
I can't
And
remember.
with a lot, like, if this were Vault of the Incarnates, a trinket like that would be death for me. I mean, we all remember Storm Eater's boon. Bloody, you press it and, oh no, they ended up dying instead of doing big damage. Like, 95% of the time that would happen. Okay? There's probably someone sitting in here like, oh, well, actually, I managed to, live all the time I did it. I just dodged mechanics. Right. But, there's still plenty of points where you would just die.
I mean, like we've stated though, everyone's got different ways of how they've dealt with this fight. Everyone plays it different. Everybody plays different classes and specs. So obviously, this is like your opinion and stuff.
Yeah.
So just to clarify, but like it's just, I don't know. I think it's kind of boring. I think the boss definitely looks better than how the fight plays.
And
but
it's also,
again, it is mid, isn't it? So
yeah.
yeah, I'm
What
quite
I have to say
disappointed
is,
with it.
why are we fighting her? Like,
Yeah,
she's a denizen of the Emerald Dream, just like Council. Surely they are our allies here, right?
Yeah,
right?
that's
They don't
one
want the
thing I never
finance to burn it
understood.
all.
And like with Council as well, like I never understood why we were like fighting Council. It's
Yeah.
like they're on our side. Like, you know what I mean? Like, same with like, I understand Oliver because obviously his turn, and I understand Smolderon. I understand everybody who's got orange on him, but like,
Yeah.
just
Like,
I
and
never quite understood that part because it was just like, oh well, these guys are defending the. I guess they're defending the temple against everybody and anybody. I kind of
like
took it that way.
The reasoning behind it is the excuse, I'd say, not a reason, I'd call it an excuse, is they're so defensive of the temple that they'll attack anyone who doesn't belong there.
Yeah, and I've kind
like,
of like passed that off as like the reason. So I'm just like, yeah, okay, cool, go for it. You guys do you. Yeah. So lower B, I'd say.
Yeah.
Primal Council.
Does that count? Oh no. And another council fight that was done horribly. I'll put on my notes here. Classic Council L. Like, there's just way too much movement. Which makes it incredibly annoying. Then there's just a clusterfuck of really boring mechanics.
Yeah.
Like, it's not exciting. And
See, I
they
only
just
thought there was 3 of them. I didn't realize there was 4.
yeah, there's 4.
4 elements, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you're cycling through interrupts, okay. Boring, we know how that works. You're breaking down pillars with fire. You're trying not to freeze by standing fire every now and then. You're constantly moving. You're grounding yourself with the earth pillars. And yeah, it's just... Oh, there's constant damage that accrues throughout the fight for the healers to heal. The tanks, it's just... Okay. Out of all 4 bosses, one of them does something to you which causes a tank swap. Only one. Only one actually dictates if there's a tank swap.
Wow. So between 4.
Yeah, between 4,
Oh my
it's only
God.
the Earth Guard dictates it. You've got a cleave, you can't point at the group, easy enough to do, just face towards the outside of the room. And yeah, just like all the movements really painfully annoying. You've also just seen like there's the soak as well to destroy the
Yeah.
earth pillars. You've
And then
got
you've got the fire
you know,
shit to deal
running
with after.
lightning circles. You've got then when it sucks you in, you've got to stand in the fire for a little bit and then move out. But of course, you're still being dragged in, so you're constantly like moving about. Yeah, it's like as we also saw from the Mark in Daffia, it's the same mechanic for lightning. They reused this mechanic on back-to-back bosses. Like, come on, we could have been more imaginative than that.
And do they all have to die at the same time as well?
Yeah.
So like, do they like heal each other up if you like kill one first and then?
I'm actually not sure. I feel like this one you could actually
do one
kill one and then ignore it. Because yeah, as you're about seeing in this video, one's about to die, and then you just do the rest later.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, do they like kneel down, kind of like, you know, like Council of Dreams, kind of?
No, I think it's just once it's dead, it's dead. Which you know, it kind of also takes out probably the only reason for having a council fight, which is like being able to do your spread damage on the council. So actually, I'm gonna put this at rock bottom. I think this
could be better. I feel like there's a theme going on. I think
the two main fights really do like they were drafted up in the council house.
Yeah, it just for me, it just seems that if you're recycling like stuff from already bad bosses, it's automatically not going to be enjoyable. I mean, I used the wrong term there, saying Daffy is bad. But I've never done it, so I can't really slate it off. But just like if you're recycling mechanics from like old like a boss that you've already just done, like it's automatically gonna put you off it. I believe it's like imagine doing like the same mechanic like 3 times and on separate bosses in a row. Yeah, and it just feels like Daffy does it better. I just feel like we've already been soured by council fights, and we know what to expect from him. I feel like one way they could improve that is kind of doing like the Council of Dreams thing. Yeah, it'd be more annoying, but it'd actually be something worth doing. Like, either with the resurrecting the other one, or, you know, I feel like, or maybe they should switch it round, maybe, and add another person to Council of Dreams. Maybe like a, well, would you really classify Pip as the healer? I don't know. Like, because there's no healing.
I just think if they're gonna do council fights, do it like Coven of Shavara and Taurus.
Yeah, oh, that one was so good.
We can spend a lot of time talking about how council fights could be like actually good. Yeah, it was fucking difficult. But these council fights just shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
Also, you want to know something else?
Oh, your microphone keeps cutting out, by the way.
Alright. So do you want to know something else?
Go on.
You see on your little image.
Yeah.
You see the one on the right?
Yeah. Vaguely. That one there.
Yeah. I can't. Actually, yeah, I can see you guys. Yeah. Do you want to know where they reappear?
Go on.
The next fucking boss, that's Daffia.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So you don't kill him.
Here's another thing. You don't, like, you kill all but Daffia for her to be reused again as another boss.
Oh.
Like, come on. It's just lazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I think could be better is solid.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Our favorite
so,
boss.
Automatically S. Purely
for Rush Exposed. No reason.
I could not just because of Molten Heart, but I just think it's great. I think it's just such a fun fight to do. I just think it's solid. I think it's very rewarding for literally every role in the game. I think it's just solid. I think it's very rewarding. The loot is incredible. I just think it's a really good fight overall. It's not hard, but it's not exactly easy. I just think it ticks literally every boss. I think it's just so good. I think in terms of like DPS, it's fantastic. There's no checks really or anything. Stay out of stuff, put stuff in a different area, make sure stuff doesn't overlap. Healing wise, I think it's great. You can get some really good heals off in it. I always used to be top healer in that fight. I'm very biased, I guess, but it was my favorite. I love doing it. It was just fantastic. Rushox is just S tier for me, without a shadow. And getting Molten Heart as well. It's just one of the best things ever. That and Fated is just going to be unbelievable. I think it's just going to be so good. That crossed with the Brewkeeper Trinket as well. It's just, you're going to be absolutely pushing out some good numbers with that as a healer. DPS wise, tank mechanics I think are great. I think it's tanks that have the main problem on Reshok, just purely because of the swap.
Yeah, the swap's a bit more of an interesting swap for tanks.
Yeah.
And like, it's mostly traditional, just the regular taunt swap, but it is a more enjoyable taunt swap than you've normally got. You've got to be quite a bit more proactive when that comes about. But nothing too bad. I would debate a little bit here. And so I agree. It's a great fight, well designed, mechanics were amazing. And I would still put it as an S tier. Personally, I'd say the bottom of the S tier. It's great. It's pure single target as well. But fuck me, there were too many waves. Just way too many waves. That honestly
Wave after
really killed quite a bit of the enjoyment for me. And I know it's a niche thing, which is why it still belongs in the S tier. But it's like, if you play Arcane or Demonology, where you're casting a lot, then this boss feels horrible for you.
Yeah. As a caster in general, I think it's horrendous. I mean, after playing Disc for a few days, Disc every day, I think as a Holy Priest, I think you're going to struggle. As a Resto Druid, I think you're going to be fantastic. Anything that just basically makes you stand on and cast on Ratshok is going to be difficult. But if you move in and attacking like melee, I'll have no problem with this. It's just mainly like an anti-caster fight. And I mean, like playing playing Holy Paladin, it's just more. It's more melee based back then in season 2. I think it's definitely my favorite boss in the entire season. 100%.
I'd agree with that. The last thing I have to add is, of course, if you had the class trinket from Neltharion, the call to dominance, you'd of course be slowed if you use your cooldowns, which means using your cooldowns would make you extremely susceptible to being hit. And well, you can guess exactly who had the shortest fucking straw for this fight.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah. Excuse my bias for
We
not
ate
exactly
Warlock's
liking
fight.
this fight. But this was the bane of my existence, but it was still nonetheless, despite all the pain, I would still rank it as an S tier fight.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like a skill issue, but that's a different story altogether. But like, if you're a melee, you're gonna love this fight in Fated. It's gonna be literally Holy Paladins and other healers fighting for Fated Rashok's Molten Heart. It's gonna be fun. I'm excited to see what affixes they add to it. So we'll go for Ice Spider from Vault.
Fucking Senoff. So
I can't remember the name.
I think so. It's mostly single target, but you've got an ad swap every now and then.
Yeah.
You do have these really small, really irrelevant ads as well, which I don't know. They just seem to die, and I think they leave a poison puddle somewhere. You pretty much just ignore their existence for the entire fight. The area looks amazing. The boss model looks quite cool. Now we're gonna get into the negatives. Like, do you want to know what my most casted spell was as Demonology?
Go on.
Step forward. You're just moving all the fight. Like it's so stupid. Almost the entire fight, you are moving. I could barely get my rotation off. I could barely do anything, to be honest. Sure, you can slide on the ice a bit, which allows you to kind of cast while moving, but it doesn't really allow much. Plus, you're taking damage from being in the ice. Then you've also got the mechanic where Senarth drags you in with webs, where you need to stand on web pools on the floor to not be dragged in. Yeah. Or as a warlock, I could use Demonic Circle, but even then, like, still the whole mechanic's downtime. All I could really do is an instant cast Demon Bolt. Or if my stupid tier set of the time prompted hand of all down, then I could do that. But yeah, no. I'm gonna easily put this at the lowest of the low. I'd rather do either of the two councils than do this fight.
So for me, obviously, like as a melee based healer, I think this would be great for me. I mean, if you're constantly taking damage and everything, like Holy Pollen and have you there?
Yeah.
I just think as well, like, it's pretty, I think it looks cool. I think the boss area looks really good. I just think as well, like, obviously, like you've just been talking about, I think, like, the casting part of it is just horrendous if you're, like, a solid hard caster. I think for melee, I think it's just mint. This would probably be, like, melee's favorite fight, just because you can absolutely hammer down.
I would also argue against that, as you can probably see by the like outlines of the ice. You've got an awkward path to sometimes walk upon, and then there'll be points where you just can't hit the boss as a melee at all, just because of the boss's pathing.
Oh, because it looks like the boss is at like the top of the hill, and you've got to chase after it.
Yeah, like at the end, the boss fight becomes fine. If the end phase was the entire boss fight, then great. But because like 90 to 95% of that fight is chasing it up this stupid slope, and you're just not stopping moving for the entire time. Awful. Like,
I quite like that idea actually, but then again, I guess that's where range did shine, really.
Yeah, it's like what they should do if they're going to introduce bosses like this, then they should just allow like full hard casting while moving.
Yeah.
Right. It's simple as it would alleviate a lot of the problems, and also just make it sort of hitboxes just allow melee to hit it the entire time. Would have been way more interesting.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I mean, for me personally, I think it looks quite like a good fight, to be honest. But we obviously play both different ways. I personally would put it because it does look interesting to me because I've not done it, so this is obviously from like an outsider's perspective.
Yeah,
I'd probably go high C or like mid C.
I am genuinely a personal believer of putting it at the very bottom.
So bottom like, C maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that seems solid. I mean obviously this is all scheduled to change. Once
I'd actually put it behind the council fights.
Yeah. Ooh, really?
Because like honestly, just I hated that fight so much. Even when I did it as Resto and Vengeance, and you know a few other of my ults, it just wasn't fun to play. And yeah, like I get having movement in boss fights can make it interesting. Like Halondrus, for example, insanely fun fight. But this stupidly overkill, really unfun. You can't even like use something like a gateway to really give you an advantage here.
Yeah.
Pre-movement won't do much as well. It is just stupid. I've got nothing positive to say about the mechanics of that boss fight.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't look too bad to me, but that's obviously from like my perspective.
Yeah.
So I would go like higher than council, maybe, to make it fair.
I mean, yeah, it's a bit more in the middle of how we both view it, so makes sense.
Yeah, we'll move on to the next one then. Smolderon.
Smoldercon?
Yes,
Smoldercon!
I'm gonna go S because
I
it is
agree.
fantastic. It is so good. Once you have got that nailed down, it makes every single wipe worth it. It is so good. Boss arena, incredible. Mechanics, so good. Best DPS check for a long time. It is just so good. And the thing is, like, once you've got it nailed down, that's it then. It's literally, you one-shot it every week. I think in terms of a wall, it's definitely a wall. But it's just about how you manage space. And if you don't manage your space well, then you're up shit creek, basically. I think the baiting mechanic is really good. I really enjoy that. I really like that from Saki. Which is spoiler alert. I think it's phenomenal. I just think it's really good. Very good, cool boss fight. Boss looks insane. Big fucking fire demon, but it's not even over yet. Fantastic. 10 out of 10. I loved it. When we got it down on, like, because I was watching your stream while we were doing it, and I was watching you fight it, and I was like, oh my god, Cal is, like, literally catching me up behind. And I was just, like, constantly looking, I was like, oh my god, this is, like, intense. And I was like, oh, what did you get? I was like, oh, I'm on 4%, what you on? And it was like, oh, I'm at least, like, 9 or 10, something like that. And it was just like, oh man, we've done it, we've fucking done it, and it was so good. I think out of, like, the boss pulls, I think this is, like, the one that we did most on. I don't even think we did this as much as for Rack, but yeah, it's just a solid boss fight. Very rewarding. I never want to see orbs again in my life. Roll on Mythic because it's only gonna get better. It's just one of those boss fights that gets better every time you do it. And it just feels good. It just feels really good. How do you feel about Smolderon as a podcaster?
Yeah, the fight is designed very well. Of course, playing the tornadoes correctly actually... Yeah, so the way that those tornadoes work, if you play it well, it's not bad, which is great.
We usually go behind the boss.
Yeah, of course. That's how you're meant to do it, from everything I've seen. It's very much a show of a raid team skill expression, which is amazing. So I personally put him above Rashok.
Ooh.
I have one criticism though. So of course, you know when you're gathering the orbs, and you've got that part where you lust and do big damage.
Yeah.
Guess who it's absolutely horrible for? The hardcaster who has to ramp up. So I'm doing a 12-second ramp whilst walking into position and picking up orbs, and I've got, like, Nimuse, which puts me in place for 3 seconds, and that's excluding my other hardcast.
Is that like your biz as well?
Yeah, Nimuse my best. I'm using that for the whole season. And I'm going to be using Ballora Lost, so I'm going to have to walk into melee too. So...
Fucking hell.
Yeah, I would say, like...
How much does that play like Beacon, though? Like, it's crazy.
I'm yet to find out at the moment, but it does seem a very similar-ish, like, more of an AoE-oriented Beacon, to be honest.
It's just Beacon is absolutely insane still. I don't get what it is. Like, on single target, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like when I was playing Ret earlier, like, it was just absolutely stupid. Like, like, what is going on? What is happening right now? Like, but yeah, I definitely think Smolderon is phenomenal. I think it's one of the best boss fights so far. That and Rashok's are at the top for me, 100%.
I have one thing to bring up though. Doesn't affect the ranking at all, but I've got a bit of a theory.
Go on.
So you know when bosses tend to use big, like, they've got their notable weapons, like, I don't know, you're fighting Garrosh and he's like, feel the might of Gorehowl, or for Rack as well, it's pretty much the same line, like, feel the might of Firalaf.
Yeah.
When Smolderon talks about using his weapon Ember Scar, he says, Ember Scar, destroy my enemies. Not something like, oh, I'm going to use Ember Scar to destroy you. It's like he's talking to the weapon.
And that's cool.
Is Emberscar alive? Is Emberscar like Zalataf, Alunef, and Falkio?
Oh, I think that's cooler though, because it's just like it makes an inanimate object feel like it's alive. It's like Ramonia.
Yes.
Even though we know Ramonia is alive, but like I know how you feel about Castle Nafria, but there's no denying that Denny fight is like one of the best fights. Like I think it's so fucking cool. Like just the fact that it felt like we just stormed Dracula's castle, and then we're just fighting Dracula. I know obviously like that's what Denafrius is, but it just for me it just felt amazing. Like when we cleared that on heroic, I lost my shit. Like I absolutely lost my mind. Like I thought it was incredible. Like
I could, but I think that'd take up way too much time.
Yeah. Oh, it's just fantastic. It just I like it when boss fights make you feel like you're fighting against two people. Like, because he kind of technically were fighting against Ramonia. Because when they did Massacre, like, mate, so good. So good. But yeah, definitely S tier for Smolderon. I mean, once you've got that down on heroic, you feel invincible. And then you meet T-Swift. It was a different fucking story altogether. So, is it...
to be honest, but...
I like it.
Terror.
I played Demon Hunter. I literally hit Ramonia Immersive P2. I didn't realize you could.
You can't. You shouldn't hit Ramonia.
Did you get hit by it?
Yeah.
Oh, Hunter. Panda played Hunter. I played Resto Druid in Nafria, so I'm like, I can't even go into words how good like Castle Nafria is. I'm sorry. I know you hate it, but I played healer like throughout, and it was just superb. Because of the damage and things are above that. Oh yeah, just talking about how good Nafria is. Okay, is it Teros?
Teros, yeah.
Yeah.
So
talk me through that one. It's a very good.
Teros is a completely single target fight, which is very good. It's only single target.
Yeah.
There's a lot of annoying movement you have to do. Is there'll be puddles on the floor. You have to go in for soaks, but you have to spread in a certain way to place spikes down. Most people would use a recoil for that, but it wasn't required. You could still have the coordination to get around that, unlike Nelthari and Zembar. So I wouldn't like. I know some might argue that is bad because of that, but I'd say like you can just look at circles and place yourself properly. Then the tanks would have an interesting job of they'd have to clear the spikes with their tank swap mechanic, which is that big beam you've seen in the video.
Yeah.
And yeah, you end up going around the room. As he gains energy, he just says, okay, this part of the room you can't use anymore. I think if there was less crap on the floor, it would have been a better fight. I'd still say it's a good fight all round. Quite enjoyable. Like, you definitely know as all roles, like, when you've got something big to do. Of course, DPS are going ham for most of the fight. Not overly fond of the fights, which make me constantly have to keep putting gateways down. But they are.
It's your job. That's what warlocks do.
Yeah. Yeah. It is what it is. Yeah. Like, mostly quite an enjoyable fight. I think they probably should have put an invisible wall around the boss. Like, there's no reason to just have a hole there and say, yeah, if you're playing Momentum Demon Hunter, you're gonna fall for it and die. Well, I like
the idea that tanks can do that to get rid of the spikes. I think that's pretty cool. I like the fact that it's pretty much a DPS race as well. I quite like that. Like, it just if you just I'm just imagining this boss is like a big clock. So obviously you go from 12 o'clock to 3 to 6, 6 to 9, back to 12 again.
Yeah.
It looks fun. It actually looks really good. Panda says fuck this fight. I think it looks quite good. I'm gonna put it in B. Purely because it reminds me of Nighthold. With
I would say
Cronus, is it?
Yeah, and in based of his looks. But I
Yeah,
would say so. You can get with healing. A lot of your healing done would be based on the amount of spikes broken.
yeah. So like, obviously, the more spikes you break, the better healing you do. That, to me, that doesn't look bad. I think out of all the Vault of the Warden fights we've seen so far, I think this is probably the best one.
Incarnates, not Wardens.
Well, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I
I
mean.
put it one behind Zara.
Kazara, yeah. Yeah, that seems pretty solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to doing that on Fated, actually. Oh, here we go. But yeah, I'm looking forward to doing that. It looks really good. I reckon the affixes on it are gonna be stupid though. But bring it on. I think it's gonna look good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in terms of like boss fights like that, I mean we've seen it quite a fair few times. Obviously in the Night Old, in Antares,
Yeah.
What else? There's like loads of other things. Oh, in Black Rock Foundry as well. With the Earth guy.
Because normally, like, what? Croesus, Garofi Worldbreaker,
That's the
and...
one. Process.
Whatever. We know it's Magnarun, who we fight in Black Rock Foundry. I forgot his exact name. But yeah, we like it's always been at the edge of the ledge, whereas this one has been in the middle, which has been a quite interesting change compared to how we've seen it in the past.
I think it looks like a really solid fight, and you don't see fights with bosses like that designed how this one is. So I'm really looking forward to doing this, to be honest. In that term. Okay, now we're getting to the big ones. We're T Swift. What did you think to T Swift?
So the first thing I have to say about him is, and I know we're not judging off of music, but fucking hell did he have the best theme of this entire expansion.
I can't remember.
I'll send you the music later, but it just slaps hard. Really good soundtracks. A lot of his mechanics were really fun. You got the roads,
Speaking of mechanics, did you know when he does the big fire thing on the floor and it fires out all the beams? Did you stand in that?
No.
You don't you get hit by it once, but then you're kind of safe from the rest of the beams. So I can't remember what the ability is called when it casts the fire thing on the floor, and then it fires the beams out around. If you stand in the middle, you only get hit by the beams once.
Okay, because I was gonna say, I think that mechanic is just too obnoxious. But if we could just stand in the middle of it and ignore it, then
let me find it.
That wouldn't be too bad. It's just very awkward when you've got the puddles about, and then you've got a massive swirly, and you've got no idea what way your tanks are gonna go. Yeah. So if it does, like, best case scenario, you just move for a couple seconds and then you're back to fighting. Yeah. Worst case scenario, you've got one hell of a trek to get back to the boss fight, and it's exceptionally annoying. But overall, with this fight,
I'll show you which one I'm on about. So it's literally so this mechanic here. If you stand in the middle of that, you only get hit by one.
Yeah.
And then there's nothing else from the rest of it. So that's what we did. So we ended up standing in the middle of that, and we only got hit by it once. But on heroic, I think it's a bit longer than this.
It hits twice on heroic.
Yeah. So we just stood in the middle of it, so we didn't get hit the second time.
Yeah.
And we were laughing our asses off, and it was like, well, surely we should be dying. We're stood in fucking fire right now. so where he's moving now, we stood in the middle of that, and then we didn't get hit by the second one. And then immediately, as they went out, we went to go fight him again. And then it went to intermission. Sometimes we'd, like, time it as well, so, like, it didn't... And then sometimes we'd just phase it and go to this phase, like, straight away. But yeah, I think this is awesome. I think it's... Yeah, honestly, stand in it, because it doesn't... You only get hit by it once. And it's really good for your healers as well. Like... we thought that was how you did it, so like we stuck with that, and then I found out that's not how you do it. So it was like, oh well, I don't know if like we've cheesed it or what, but we did that like every time, and we always got to P3. So
Yeah.
and a lot of people, it's easier to go in the fire than it is to dodge all the circles around. So we just did that, and then obviously we went from there, and and then we killed it. So yeah. So I think this is an 80. I think this is top A tier. I don't think.
Nah. It's S.
Really?
It's S. Okay. Like the dragon riding in the fight.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Only criticism is it's not long enough.
I
need more.
I kind of I feel like as well, like on harder difficulties, I don't know if it's like this on Mythic, but I feel like the ball should be constantly moving as you're going to get the green things. Like I feel like the dragon riding part of it should be more of a challenge.
I mean, even so, I love it because I've done so much dragon riding. I'm always like the first one there, and I've got multiple orbs. Like, it just feels great. Like interacting with what is the mini game that has now been incorporated into a mechanic has actually given me a decent advantage in the fight.
Yeah.
So I really like it. I really think that like finally seeing the implementation of dragon riding in a boss fight, and it's been done as well as it has. This is what players have been asking for most of Dragonflight, and it deserves its spot in S tier. Even if it's not like that, there's not things that are insanely like, oh my god, this is fucking amazing. But like, it's a really well made fight, very fun, very enjoyable, and I like, there's very little that's wrong with it, and just dragon riding.
Yeah,
so
I think
fun.
I'm quite glad they've waited until the last raid to do it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if they did it from the beginning, I don't think it'd be as polished as it was now. I think it's
and
a
having
very
it go all around the major still.
yeah,
Beautiful.
but it feels badass. Like it feels like you're in like a completely different planet. That's pretty solid. To be fair, we'll go for. I don't think it's as good as Smolderon, but I think it's better than Rashok.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Yeah, so we'll
that's
go
very
for that. I
perfect
think loot from it is quite cool as well. Obviously, because isn't that where you get the Belarus from?
Yeah, that's
Yo,
where the Lord lost.
Insecurity, thank you for the 6 months, dude. That's half a year. How you doing, man? You alright? Volcaros. What do we think to Volcaros?
Volcaros is a good single target fight. Its movement is very fair for the fight. Can't fault it. And I think the main thing to
I'm good, by the way,
take
thank
from
you.
this fight is penis.
yeah.
It's just
I think in terms of like area design, we've never seen. I mean, obviously we've had like Il'gynoth. If you remember that fight, is very reminiscent of that. I like the tail mechanic. I think never thought I'd say that.
penis.
So tail mechanic I think is really cool. I think have you seen it on Mythic before? Have you seen like any videos of it on Mythic? So there's like a tiny little area that you have where you're still getting damaged. And you've got to basically DPS the boss down. It makes a fight feel very I think on Mythic it's probably going to be it's going to be a lot better than like normal or heroic. It feels like a very free boss on those two. But I feel like Mythic is probably where Volcaros is going to shine. I think I'm going to put it in mid B tier. Pure.
I would put it at high B.
We'll go.
Definitely above Diurna.
Yeah, we'll go there. So it's. I'll put it after Teros.
Yeah, that's fair. I'd say it's quite equal to Teros.
Yeah, I mean they're both quite similar. Yeah, I'm looking forward to fighting it on Mythic. I feel like it's gonna be really good. I quite like the panicky last phase part idea. I mean, obviously, like if you DPS, it's not fantastic. It's gonna be a bit of an issue. But I feel like solidly as a boss, I think it's gonna be great. Yeah. So 5 more to go. We've got Zakali Assault.
Yeah.
I think we both know where this is gonna go.
Yeah, it just shouldn't have existed.
Less of that said, the better.
Yeah, like when a boss fight can last 30 seconds, as a legitimate strategy that most guilds employ, then it wasn't a boss fight. It's extended trash.
I've only ever done it
when you do the
once.
fight properly, it's extended trash.
Yeah.
So
I think
yeah.
I think doing it any other way than not just smashing it down, it's a bit of a fuck around. I don't really find it fun. I think healing it's horrible. Visually you can barely see it. You can barely see anything. Like, unless you've got like max cam, it's hard. It's hard to see whether you've got circles. It's hard to see whether you're stacked on somebody else. With the circle, unless you like freedom it, or if you bubble out of it, then obviously you're not gonna get hit by it. I think the fact that you've got to soak at the door, I think is pretty cool. Even though you're gonna go through that door anyway, I think is a bit silly. Yeah, I just think it's an extended trash fight, and this is what we meant earlier by it being free. It is a very free fight. Yeah, I think its bottom of could be better. To be honest, it's not fun, but it's not shit, I guess. But it's it's a fight.
I thought it was quite shit. Like, even the mechanics in there alone were just annoying to do.
But I still don't know what to do with those rocks. Like, you know, when you're on like either side, you just launch them off the side.
So you pick it up, you walk to the edge, and then you get an extraction button, and you press it, and then that's it.
Is that literally it?
Yeah.
That's
so it's like
garbage.
the most non-mechanic there is. But do you want to know something interesting?
Go on.
What's your bet for the fastest kill on Mythic?
I'm gonna say at least a minute, and I think that's been quite generous.
Yeah, it's extremely generous considering it's not even half of that. It's 27 seconds.
What?
Yeah, the fastest kill on Mythic for Assault of Zakali, which was in Temple 1.7, was 27 seconds according to Warcraft logs on Mythic difficulty. Which is ridiculous. A boss dying that fast shouldn't happen.
Oh, God.
For some specs, like, your cooldowns haven't even ended. Demon Hunters are still standing there in meta. The Evoker's probably have an extended Dragon Rage at that point. Demonology Warlocks are, like, not long since finished their ramp. Arcane Mages are probably still going through theirs. Like, what was the point of it existing? It's so dumb. So, yeah. With it not even actually being a encounter, I'd say.
It's barely a boss, though. Like, it's just...
Rares in the open world have taken longer.
What would have been so much better is if you combine Zakali Assault, maybe with Rashok. Because if you knew during the Ancient Fury mechanic, that would have been good. With like Zakali Assault intertwined with that, minus like the big ad. Well, I don't. It's a boss, but it's practically just a big ad, isn't it? But like, if you had Zakali trying to stop you from killing Rashok, that would have been a lot better, I think. Like, if during the Ancient Fury, where you've got to dodge the shit on the floor, and then you've got the ads to contend with as well, I feel like that would have made not only Zakali Assault better, but I feel like that would have made Rashok a lot better. And maybe like, yeah, I don't know. It's just an idea.
To be honest, I just think shouldn't have existed. Don't play around with the idea again. Like, learn the lesson, move on.
Speaking of moving on, Skarn. What did you think of Skarn?
So, Skarn, while is quite a terrifying boss for most people, as it, well, involves you doing things. I think what it does have high mobility. Thank you. There is kind of short bursts where you have that high mobility.
At the beginning.
Mostly single time. Yeah, it's like whenever the flame things happen, is sort of when you move. I do have an issue with the knockback. Knockbacks are not fun. So you're gonna love my feedback for the following boss, but yeah. But yeah, so the knockback, very frustrating, especially like in the middle of ramps, and seeing as the only time you can ramp, or should be ramping, is when that knockback happens. It's extremely frustrating and doesn't feel rewarding at all. Being able to deactivate the traps is quite a cool idea, but dealing with the ads you get in the fight are a bit awkward, as they go so far across the arena. And then
It's like they're the complete opposite side. So it's like you go from, and then you've got traps to contend with as well. Like with people who've not done them, and it's like, oh god, like it could potentially be like quite an easy boss fight, but it's just not. It's just I don't find it fun at all.
Yeah, if they had actually made it so that the golems would stand around the scan, then that would have been so much better.
Yeah.
Or if, you know, you could have just maybe had one golem, DPS it down, and then send someone in the golem to walk around, deactivate the traps.
Yeah.
Until the Skarn gets pissed off and, like, blows the fucking golem up.
I think the build up to Skarn is actually better than the fight because because you've got Nefarian taking you around everywhere, but then you've also got Skarn following you everywhere as well. Like in Amalgamation, he's like talking you the lore of this boss. Same with Experiments as well. And Kazara, basically, like he's just following you around the entire way. And I just think the fight is very
like the perfect caretaker.
Yeah, he's very underwhelming. I find. I just think whenever I get up to him, sorry, I just think this could have been better. It could have been a lot better.
Yeah.
I find it really boring after a while. And I just find it a bit of a mess. I just think it's like if you put in control in players' hands, at least like do it so it is punishing. I feel like it has to be punishing if you put it in players' control. But at least make it fun. I've always pronounced it Kazara. Kazra. It's Kazara.
I feel like what they could have done is instead of having stuff like the bombs or the traps and shit.
Yeah. I've completely forgot about that one.
Had it so that like
Kazra.
You know how the dragon heads initially just burn like half the room and you gotta run away?
Yeah.
They could have made it so as the progress, you just decides to ditch using it for that purpose, change it about, and just the mechanics change. Like he's using all different parts of Aberrus in order to actively try and fuck with us.
Yeah.
So yeah, like he had a lot of potential, but I still think he was a good boss.
I'd definitely put it in C.
I put him in A.
A?
I think he was a good boss. Very difficult. But, yeah, he's probably below Aeronok, I'd say. I guess, like...
I don't know.
Maybe because of the knockback, I'd say, but...
I think for me, it's obviously kind of different because it's, like, healing-wise.
Yeah. Healing-wise, it didn't feel fun, to be fair.
No, and, like, I've got to pick up the slack when people die because... Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, I didn't enjoy it as much. I think in the middle ground, I think we'd probably go for B.
Yeah, let's go for B.
I'm gonna
Maybe
go...
Maybe Volcarus.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know Broodkeeper that well. So this might be scheduled to change.
Brood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's solid. Okay, big free time. Razageth.
Yeah, these... Okay. So... First of all, and this doesn't really change the rankings, I'd say, but I don't think we can talk about these bosses without talking about their cinematics.
Yeah.
Like, Razageth had the best ending cinematics.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree on that one.
Incarnates are out. Of course, StarCraft's one was bad, and then for
don't think it was
absolute dog.
I don't think it was bad. I just think it's very. I think it was mysterious. I think it was just like, well, nothing's really led up to this. I felt like with StarCraft, I felt like it was like nothing's really led up to this point yet. So we were kind of left guessing. So it was like, oh, we're going that route, and then I was expecting like something kind of Void related. After that, but then we got a Madrasil, and it kind of just was like, oh, okay, we'll just do that. But I feel like if they're like established on it, you know, I feel like it was kind of like the ending of Dawn of the kind of like the ending to Galakon's Fall, because it's very like. It's not inclusive. I don't think inclusive is the right word, but I think it's more so like, oh, this is happening, but we're not going to tell you about it, or we're not going to show you anything in regards to that. This is happening. Okay. Do you know what I mean? It kind of felt like that, and it was like leading up to that. I get that completely, but it just felt like we're not going to go back to it again. So it was like, oh, okay, that's fine. Carry on.
It's very much all the mistakes that were made with Shadowlands and the Jailer's story.
Oh god.
And like the fact that we've already had that, and then they do it again, just makes it so much worse, in my opinion.
It was like you should have learned this time, old man, kind of thing. But yeah, I quite liked the Razageth fight. I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
I like the whole using the debuff to your advantage thing. I quite liked that. I think it's really, like the whole, because it is hard to compare Razageth to Farak because they're pretty much the same fight. They've got the same mechanics, kind of. They've like,
I wouldn't say so.
That's probably the wrong thing
I'd say
to
there's
say.
enough of a difference. But
I definitely think Farak is a better fight.
Yeah,
definitely. I think out of the three, it's probably the weakest one.
Razageth's fight, like, so I know you're talking about debuffs to your advantage, but in Mythic, you don't even get those debuffs.
Oh, really?
You get blown back from north to south, and like, it's so stupid. All the movement in that fight is just blown out of proportion. Having so much time being blown back. I'm already a big hater of it, and it's like the main feature of the fight being pushed back, which sucks.
Tag of boosters.
Not fun at all. And then
I forgot I had that on, to be honest, Luna.
Oh my god.
No wonder.
And I think also with the Razageth fight, there's too much of swapping between doing single target and then doing AoE.
Yeah.
Oh, and also her breath was so poorly telegraphed. Very, very bad. Like the fact that you couldn't clearly make out how the mechanic was gonna go. Like, okay, with her breath as she's on the floor, you know it's a frontal. You know she's gonna do a fat lightning beam. But when she's like far off the edge of the platform, and then she flies through the middle of the platform, braving down, and you got like a very piss poor indication of where it's going to be, with some like sort of effects which are hard to see in the room we were in. It's like no, poorly designed fight. I would put Razageth at the top of C tier.
I think. I mean, I've only done it on LFR. I've never done it on like anything higher. Because I missed it. I missed it. But from what I did, because I wanted to get the skin, I think it feels like now that we're at the end, it feels like a Poundland version of Farak. That's what I was meaning earlier.
Yeah.
it just, by using, like, I don't know, I don't really know what else to say about it, really, because I don't remember a lot, because it was a while. But yeah, I think putting it in C, I mean, obviously we'll see what it's like in Fated, and then we'll obviously come back to this and then see what we think.
I honestly feel like I'm being really generous by putting it in C.
Yeah, I think in terms of, like, the cinematics, I think it's better than Firax.
Yeah. Easily the best cinematic. I think Farak is the worst one just because of how much it just said, "Hey, Law, fuck you."
Yeah, I felt very Power Rangers for Farak, but we'll get to that in a bit. Sakharov, what did you think to Sakharov?
Okay, so it visually looked very cool. Music-wise, also very cool. Quite a few of his mechanics were quite cool as well. Not too bad to do. There was no need for ads on that fight. Like, all it did was mean that you couldn't pick a single target build to fight Sakharov.
I guess that's part of the challenge, though, really. I didn't mind the ads part, purely because of my spenders, but, like, I just thought it felt... I do agree to some extent, because it did feel like they were out of place a bit. On Heroic, I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was really good. I didn't really like having to use all my cooldowns in the beginning, though. I thought that was quite... And then I was kind of fucked for the rest of, like, the entire fight. But, like, I think in terms of the actual fight itself, I thought it was really good. I wasn't expecting Sakharov to be, like, the last boss. Maybe Nefarian would have been a better shout, maybe, but, like, obviously with what we've seen and everything, it doesn't kind of make sense. I really enjoyed it. I want to put it at bottom of A, because it's not easy, but it's not too difficult. I mean, it is difficult, but it isn't in a way. I think it's a very good boss to learn your cooldowns and when to use them. It teaches you a lot about precasting as well before a pull, so I quite like that. Especially with, like, using Tears Deliverance and Hand of Divinity, I thought it was really good. I think precasting those two for Holy Paladin on that fight was, like, really good because it set you up for, like, the damage that was coming out. I quite liked the soaks that you had to do with the arrows. I thought that was really good. I didn't really
like
mind
it how you had the choice of what debuff to take.
See, I always told people to go for the arrows because I played healer, so well, I still obviously do, but, like, I think I'd rather be slower than be constantly taking damage in, like, a quite a damage-heavy phase. Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, I felt like you took more from the fighter.
No, so Fire ended up doing less DPS.
Oh, really?
So you shot yourself in the foot massively.
For fuck's sake.
Yeah. But,
no, I always used to take the, like, slow casting one, though. I always used to take that because it was like, well, no matter, like, if people are taking damage, I can still heal, because a lot of my heals, obviously, are, like, instant cast. So, like, I could just Holy Shock or Word of Glory or, like, Light of Dawn. Do you know what I mean? So for like a Holy Paladin, it was really good. It was a really good fight. Also for, like, Priest and stuff, it would have been, you would have gone into the fire maybe, because you can actually deal, like, there's, like, different ways you could have done it depending on what you played. But yeah, I used to tell Holy Paladins to just go in the cast, because it was like, if you've got instant heals, then it's not an issue whatsoever. We never really used Flash of Light or Holy Light at that point anyway, so it was just quite easy for Holy Paladin in that fight, regardless of, like, same for Resto Druids as well, because you never really use Regrowth apart from, like, once, and that should always be on, like, the lowest health person, or... I don't remember getting ahead of the curve for Razageth, but apparently I did in my Paladin. Fair enough. So I think bottom of A, I think, is solid for Sakharov.
I think Sakharov is actually a good, like, sort of collaboration of past and future mechanics. So you've got like baiting the fire circles at the start.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
Which probably led to Smolderon being as good as it was. I believe like going in the soaks and clearing your debuff was done better than how it was done on, say, Denathrius.
Yeah.
Because I like, as I say time and time again, ads don't have much of a space on raid fights. Like, come on, give us places where we can just go in and single target. It's much more enjoyable. Yeah, I think he definitely got the breath a lot better than what was done on Razageth. Sure, okay, his breath's quite a bit different, but you can see the swirly, and you've got a clear indication of where it's going to go. I know, like, if you're visually impaired, it was very hard to see the swirlies in that fight.
Oh, yeah.
But if you weren't, then chances are you just weren't looking. So, not going to take those tears.
It's a skill issue.
Yeah. No, I think a lot of people were just pretending, oh, I can't see it, because they couldn't be bothered to move. I think the Void Phase idea was very cool. You know, go down,
skill issue
collect, like, the soul fragments and shit, or whatever
it was. I forgot about that.
And then hiding behind the pillars as well. Also very cool.
I always used to bubble on them all the time. Every single time. As soon as I get the arrow pointing it to somebody, I'll be like, yeah, go to the fucking other side bubble, just to be sure. Yeah, I think A is, bottom of A, I think is very solid. It's good. Once you've got that down on heroic or mythic, I think it's fucking very rewarding. For Rack,
I think
last one.
Before we move on, if they removed the soak mechanic for destroying the pillars, then I think it would have been a better fight.
I think in an already mechanic-intensive fight, I think having what less mechanic wouldn't hurt, to be honest. But yeah, I really enjoyed Sakura. I think it was really good. Yeah. Really, it felt really cool, like, you know, because you've just been through like this entire laboratory, and then you get to the void part, which is like the big twist, I guess.
Yes,
I think it's really cool. I think out of all of the cutscenes as well at the end, I quite enjoyed that he wasn't dead when we killed him, and I think it was like the cutscene was really good. I think the word is ominous. I think that's what I was looking for earlier. But yeah, really enjoyed it. Foyer is really, really cool, actually. Ready to move on?
Now on to Nigel Farrak. Barack Obama. Barack Matthews. Okay.
So, we get it. So I enjoy this fight. I think it's really good. There's a lot of stuff going on. But it's the last boss, pretty much, of the expansion. So obviously it has to have a lot. I think... So we'll start with what we like and what we don't like about it. So one thing I do like is, obviously, as a healer, we get to shine and everything. We've got to stop the world tree from dying, which is quite epic in itself. I think...
Can I just say something on that?
Go on.
If you think about, like, just all with the healing ads and whatnot, there's an amazing amount of team synergy in that one mechanic alone. Your healers that need focus on healing these guys up, getting them the shield, making sure they get into the heart of Yggdrasil safely. You have the tanks, you have to make sure that those infernals are kept as far away as possible, and in some cases, moving ads where if their class can, and then the DPS also helping out, i.e. Death Knights with their grips and abominants. And then on top of that, it's also the DPS's job to clear a path through that wall of ads so the healing ads can get through without being screamed on and without turning to falling to the flame.
Yeah, it's just so much.
It's amazing.
We'll get a Holy Poly POV for this, because it's just incredible. Like, it's one of those fights where it's just epic from fucking start to finish. Like, it feels genuinely like... So this is where... So obviously, if you've not got this far, before. It's incredible. So you start off with like Farak. You've got to then take all the fires to the edge. Obviously, if any of the fire here touches the branches, you automatically die. I quite like that mechanic. I think like, yes. Which you'll see further on in P3. If anything touches anything, you're dead. I quite like that idea. It makes sense. It's story-wise, it fits. I just think it's incredible. One thing I do have...
I like how go away off the P1 though. I think it's very good that they did change that because of how intensive it gets later.
It's just ramps up. It's just a really good fight. I already feel like putting this in like S tier just because of how epic the actual fight is, and I think it's just really rewarding. Just for me, it's a lot of fun. The blaze makes me think of Denafrius. So it just reminds me of like Massacre. It's just it just that for me. I think that mechanic alone was like one of my favorites in Castle Nafria. It just feels like it, and it just feels like, okay, we've got Denafrius. How can we make that fight better? Like regardless of like how you feel about it, it just feels amazing from like start to finish. On the seeds phase, it's cool. Everyone panics. This dude is still using Rashok's Molten Heart as well. Big shout out to that guy. It's probably normal, to be honest. Oh no, it's heroic. So it just goes to show you that for Rashok's Molten Heart is still good. My only gripes with it is the ending cutscene. I love this phase, by the way, because I can absolutely just smoke it. As a Holy Paladin, you can just literally bubble and collect all of them and just Divine Steed through them, and that's what I tend to do.
Yeah.
And then I can just like, I usually use Devotion Aura at this point, because obviously when you collect the balls, you take damage, so I just Devotion Aura, Aura Mastery, sorry, these guys. And then obviously we run up to this point here when we did guild runs, and then we start the fight from there. That's just what we usually tend to do, and then the ads should start coming there now. So throughout this, you've got to heal these ads. Make sure none of them get hit by the blazes, which is not about to happen right now. Someone, oh no, that was so lucky as how the fuck has that happened? Wow. Yeah, so if any of these ads get touched by blaze, then they turn into like the screaming ones, and then you've got to like basically stack up on them. I don't think it matters if you get the blaze through him once the bubble's gone off on him.
It breaks the shield, so they are susceptible to damage again.
Oh shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously stay out in the middle. Don't get hit by Farak, otherwise you're just dead.
That's how the should have been done on myself.
Yeah.
That's how it should have been done.
Yeah. It's just fantastic. It's just such a solid fight. I think it's such a... I'm losing my voice now. I think it's just such a solid ending to the expansion, and I think it's a showcase. I'm gonna go for second S.
I've still got more I want to talk about this before throwing in.
That's me so far anyway.
Yeah. So, like, the orb mechanic you talked about, you defined Steed earlier.
Yeah.
Also, I'd like to point out how much of a great example of teamwork that is.
Yeah.
Everyone spreads around, gets their own orb, and it's like, it's not even an annoyance. As a warlock, I can just stand there and do my rotation perfectly fine. I love that. That feels like a well-designed mechanic, and I know, like...
And it takes everyone into consideration as well, regardless of what you play.
That is how mechanics should be done. I think every mechanic on the Farak fight took everything into consideration. There's not a single spec I can think of that has a legitimate disadvantage on the Farak fight. It's really well made. And I know, I'm about to do the biggest contradiction that you're going to see in this video, if you're watching from YouTube, and the stream, if you're watching from Twitch. But the fight. You've got single target, and you've got two target, and then you've got a, like, mass multi-target. And in the way it was done, it felt really fucking good. Honestly, I'm not a fan of ads in Raid, but those ads belonged in that fight.
Yeah,
I think
it just adds to the entire epicness of the actual fight, though. Like,
yes,
it is. I mean, I'm not saying it gets a pass because it's like the last boss of the X-Ban, but like, I feel like it should have something like that because it is the last boss of the X-Ban. So it should have stuff like that. It should have everything. I think as a last boss, it should have everything you've learned from the rest of these bosses, and it should be like times 10. I feel like that's how it should be. I think it should have soaks. It should have Denathrius lines. I'm going to call it that from now. It should have everything. It should have teamwork, which you've just stated. It should literally have everything in this fight. And that's why I put it so high, because it showcases everything that you should have learned from all of these. So it should have absolutely everything. It's got ads. It's got soaks. It's got heals. It showcases everything, and I think it's a very good example of how a last boss should be of an expansion. If you can compare this to the Jailer, if you compare it to Kill Jaden, if you compare it to, like, well, not Kill Jaden, because Kill Jaden's amazing, but like, it's not even the last boss either, but if you compare it to, like, N'Zoth, if you compare it to, I can't even think of anybody else, but if you compare it to last bosses of expansions, like, it just does one all over on him. It's just, I think it's one of the most fun last boss fights they've done for a long time. I think the last boss, and this is going to be me being really biased because I love Legion, but I think the last boss to be this good was Argus.
Yeah,
like, definitely.
I do think N'Zoth was also an amazing fight. I can't discredit it at all. Like, really fucking well made fight. The Jailer, bit of a yikes, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But N'Zoth, Argus, amazing fights. And of course, I haven't been a raider for as long as many people, so I don't go back in history any further. But yeah, I would say Farak has got it down.
Yeah.
What I love is the difference between him as an incarnate and in his visage form.
Yeah.
It feels really cool. You really get to see the strength of Fearlaugh. When he's in his visage form, it's like everything about Razageth that was wrong had been done right. And there's still the throwbacks to, like, the... So we've got the big breath along the middle, which, as I said earlier, had been done perfectly. Then there's the frontal breath, where he just has a fire beam in front of him in the last phase. Amazing. I really like it how, when it's appropriate, it clears the space necessary for you to continue the fight. It gets rid of the roots when needed. It gets rid of fire when needed. It's also got swirlies, which really aren't too disruptive.
Yeah.
You've got the tornadoes, which, when played correctly, don't become an issue because you'll take it out and put it at the side. You've got the lines, which are an excellent display of player skill. When the team works together properly, it's a non-issue. And the seeds, like, holy fuck. A lot of the time, I know I have one of the most unpopular opinions.
1 second.
Okay,
I'm just gonna go full. You carry on. I just need to take a phone call. That's all. 1 sec.
Alright, sweet. So, yeah, straight. I've said a lot that I think Fate Scribe is an amazing boss. I mean, yeah, it has its downsides, but the feeling you get as you take a rune around the room, like, everyone relies on you. You decide on the fate of how this goes. You do it right, you've saved your entire group. You feel like a Giga Chad. And I believe the seeds in Farak give you that exact same feeling. It's great how it's only one button to do, like, all the functions you need with the seed. And, you know, you can assign it properly, as we can see in the video, probably a couple seconds after I'm talking, because stream delay. You put your seed down, you save the group from wiping. It just... Seeds really do have that. Everyone relies on you. You do it right. You're the Giga Chad. Just like the Fate Scribe. So...
It is a really good fight. I mean, like, if you know what you're doing with seeds, you're more than welcome to just do it. I think just... The only thing that really lets the whole Farak thing down is the ending cinematic, but that shouldn't matter because we're talking about actual fights here. But yeah, I definitely think it's like it's gone from like S to like high, maybe bottom of S, because it's just on how epic it actually is. And again, I think it's like a learning curve, like from other previous bosses.
Taking into consideration Smoldron, Tinder, and Rashok, I am gonna put Farak as the best boss of this expansion without a shadow of a doubt.
Wow.
Like, honestly, I don't think I've ever seen a more balanced fight.
Yeah.
As I say, I do like to take a look from every single role, and I include melee DPS and range DPS as their own roles, and casters and hard casters their own roles, because they do differ vastly.
Yeah.
And it's not just like caster healers and caster DPS, or it's like hard caster DPS and caster DPS. Like also thinking about healers, some of them have hard cast as well that they have to deal with.
Yeah, I mean,
and
like,
I
look
think
at Holy Priest, for example.
I think, like as I said earlier, nothing is a disadvantage. It's perfectly balanced. You can play any spec on this fight, and you're going to fucking love it.
Yeah, and I think that's solid. I think that's the best way of putting it. Really, again,
I would put Farak in his own tier as well, to be brutally honest.
Yeah. I can't edit it.
It's okay. We know.
Yeah.
Farak is just the goat.
Yeah.
He's carried raiding in Dragonflight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
I think that's a solid tier list. I mean, obviously, Emma Rivers, welcome in, mate. How you doing? I just think, I think that's a very solid way of putting it. I think once you get to that on heroic, Giga Chad instantly. Like, no matter how you feel, like, once it's one of those fights where it's fantastic no matter how you do it. Just, yeah. And it's one of the only fights in this entire list where you feel like you can literally play anything, regardless of meta, regardless of like where you are on a DPS list, healing list, tanking list. It doesn't matter. It feels like you can come together and just play whatever you want on it. And I feel like that is what a lot of these bosses are lacking, and I'd like to see more of that. So, so that's our tier list. If you agree, let me know. If you disagree, let me know even more.
I disagree. I put Diana right at the bottom.
But obviously, I'll do another one of these as soon as we've done Fated. And then we'll come back to this, review this video, and then laugh at ourselves and laugh at how we sound. So thank you very much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you later. Bye.